Do you remember Initial D? I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's this niche little 90s anime that has no cult following whatsoever and is known by very few. At least that's what the creators seem to think. The people who own the rights to Initial D seem to not understand that a racing game done in CGI would do well, and nobody outside of Japan would ever play a game like that unless it was in an arcade. So Inertial Drift is here to prove they're right. I don't know if it's the marketing or... No, it's probably the marketing. I mean, I've searched Steam probably 1,000 times for a racing game that doesn't suck, and didn't find out about this game until it went on sale. Which is kind of the other issue. This shit's $20. $20? The price that a 40-hour AAA game goes on sale for? However, it goes on sale frequently for like $5 and has been as low as $2. Which is more than worth it for a game with this much thought put into it. Especially when its competition is this shit. Now, before I say literally anything about the gameplay, I think I need to talk about the main gameplay quirk, the right stick drifting. This is what makes Inertial Drift, and it's pretty good actually. The only issue is it's not really drifting, like, at all. The game doesn't give you the same feeling as simulation drifting, but then you remember it's an arcade game, and you realize that this mechanic is genius. It's the only way that drifting can feel fun and easy, and once you forget that you don't need to account for momentum or physics, and your eyes just get lost in the taillights and twisty mountains at night, it hits. And it hits good. I've definitely entered a time trial mode more than once, planning to quit after I get the platinum rank, and then find myself 5 laps in, still just driving, trying to shave a 1/10 of a second off, because it's just fun, like, inherently, like how video games are supposed to be, which paints a bright future for the developer of this game. I say future because... Every car in this game is one of two things. Understeers like crazy and feels way too easy, or has no balance between drifting at all or going sideways. Other than the Katana XT and a few others, most cars in this game honestly feel like a waste of time. They morph the game controls from smooth and effortless to feeling clanky and awkward. They almost make the game feel like the cars that do control well are simply flukes instead of purposeful. Like the whole game was an accident and could never be recreated if they tried. This is kind of the opposite of what makes a racing game good in the first place, but for an arcade game, it kind of makes sense. The game would have been significantly better off if, outside of the story mode, which we'll get into that later, I didn't have to spend the first few hours finding the 2 viable cars in the game. Cars seem to have a very different way of initiating a drift. Some you just use the stick, which are beginner-friendly cars, and as they get more advanced, they get more fucky, and you have to start to lift off the gas before you initiate a drift, and some of the really fast cars require you to brake to initiate a drift. The second option feels great, feathering the gas pedal as you go around corners, slamming the stick aggressively from left to right. You almost forget it's an arcade drifting game and you start to feel like a god. Then, you use brake to drift, or the understeer mobiles. Fucking sucks. It feels like they had a base game, and then 5 different people came in to make 5 mostly disjointed, aimless modes that feel like excuses to try the unique drifting mechanic. There's story mode, arcade mode, challenges, Grand Prix, and multiplayer. Story mode features a story, I guess. I don't even want to waste time talking about it beyond it just being, I have one character trait, and I have a car, and I hope I win. And then you play the game and you retry the race as many times as possible until you get the rank you wanted. The issue is, the gameplay-wise, it's fundamentally the same as every other mode, but you have to skip a cutscene beforehand. Because trust me, that's what you'll be doing after you try to follow the story for even one campaign. Another issue with the story mode is when you first load it up, it makes it seem as though you have an option on what character to pick, and it doesn't really matter. But in actuality, you have to pick the blonde guy, to learn the game properly at least, and not play the easiest campaign later. A little text pop-up suggesting to play them in order would have been nice, instead of me thinking that the game was just ass until my friend told me that the Gecko felt great to drive. Arcade mode is arcade mode. You play the game. That's it. Grand Prix mode is just a slightly structured arcade mode, which is cool, I guess. There's 5 races with each car, and it's fine. And then finally, challenges. Challenges are actually pretty fun, and it's the way you unlock new cars, is what the game says, which isn't true, because you also do in story mode, and they don't seem to specify which you unlock in which mode, making the game feel even more convoluted and directionless. But they're short and sweet and don't really end up meaning much in the grand scheme of things, but that's fine. 4 single-player modes are more than enough anyways. And then there's multiplayer, which is the actual best mode that I had by far the most fun in and got the most amount of time out of. Which made me realize something. The flaw of the game is the entire game when you're not actively playing it, which multiplayer completely solves. It solves the issue with difficulty, it solves the issue with progress and the lack of explaining things. It actually works best if you just treat it like a 1v1 fighting game. So, is this the modern Initial D game? Does it live up to its title? Nope, but it's got potential. I have to listen back to the whole thing.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's called editing. That's
dude.
it's gonna be like whatever you record.